Okay. So we are in the Karma Yoga, Yoga of Action, work in Krishna consciousness. This is very important chapter also because we need to understand this. How do we do our work in Krishna consciousness? How do we make the work as devotional work? But because we are still in the beginning stage and we are still in this material world, so when we start reading Bhagavad Gita, we will think that should be, there's a spirituality. When you're trying to turn your mind towards spirituality, you might think that we need to renounce everything and then take sannyas. But how work is playing a part in our life, it is there. No, we are engaged in work, in our day-to-day work, we have done so much. So how do you address that? So that Krishna is talking in this more clearly. Okay. So let us, before we begin, do our Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanancha Shalakaya Chakshumitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpaturabhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitam Nam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschateshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So what did we do? So when we started with the chapter 1, it was all about observing the armies. And when we saw how Arjuna gave reasons for not fighting, wishing to fight. And in chapter 2 was very long, because Krishna was addressing all the arguments put forth by Arjuna. What was it? That was the compassion. He couldn't kill with compassion for his kith and kin. And then he said there was no enjoyment in this battle, and fear of sinful reactions. And finally he said destruction of family. Then he gave his indecision. He said, I'm now confused. Karpanya Dosha Pata Swabhava. He was saying, I am confused now. I don't know what to do. Now I'm a disciple. Please instruct me. So then Krishna starts instructing now. He's a spiritual master. He's taken the role of the spiritual master because Arjuna has surrendered to the Lord and said, now you tell me. I'm your disciple. You tell me. So Krishna has a role of thing. So there were many points put out and concepts put up by Krishna. And now in this chapter, you see, Arjuna was confused and he was asking questions. So this chapter starts with questions by Arjuna. In fact, these questions make Krishna too. He has given so many points. Now he will start elaborating one by one in a very logical manner, so that even we will also be able to understand. So what did he say? For the arguments is gave 5 reasons for not to fight. That was for the compassion. He said, the soul does not die and the body has to perish one day or the other. So you're not killing anybody. So he gave the jnana. Right? There is no death for the soul. You're not killing anyone. They are there before and they have been today also, they'll be tomorrow also. So soul is, there's no death for the soul. You're not killing. So you fight. Gave the jnana. Then Arjuna was saying, no, it's not, there's no enjoyment. There he says, you fight because it's your duty. There he talks about your swadharma, prescribed duty. You are you are in a body and a soul. So as in the body, you have a duty to carry out, and you're a Kshatriya, so you have to fight. That is your prescribed duty. You have been trained to do that. Only if you fight, you will have gains. If you don't fight, then you're in a loss. That means you are escaping your duty. Then he said, even if you're the soul and if there you have to listen to the super soul and you have to fight. So in both cases, there's a duty, you have to fight. And then he said, you go beyond that because there is no enjoyment. He said, just go beyond enjoyment. That's when he talked about Buddhi Yoga, Nishkama Karma. Because Arjuna was saying, sinful reactions. If you fight with a sense of duty, then there's no sin. So he says to fight with a sense of duty. But then Arjuna wanted to know, is there such a person and how do they work? How do they carry out their duty? That's when it described the Sthita Prajna person who is fixed in Krishna consciousness. He will engage everything for the Lord, and that's how he is situated. So we saw all that. And now, what is the confusion when it comes? We'll just see what is there in this text. So this chapter has got 43 slokas, and how they are divided, I'll just tell you. In the first 2 slokas, Arjuna expresses his confusion. Okay, it's very simple because he says whether I should renounce, because he's thinking that if I have to work without as a duty or renounce the results. So he's thinking that we have to, there's a confusion, the words that Arjuna, Krishna is using. So he's thinking, that means I have to renounce the knowledge which you got, no? That is, I'm not the soul, I'm the soul and not the body. Then why at all work? Because why at all fight? I'm the soul, no? Might as well not do anything and take renounce. So that is a thing. So he's thinking like that. And there is Arjuna is telling to fight. Then see, throughout the thing, Krishna doesn't tell you not to do your work, not to do your duty. It's still the same. But only why you have to do your duty and how to do it is what the whole thing we are learning in Bhagavad Gita. So renunciation or action. Then in verse 3 and 16, he talks about how Jnana Yoga renunciation is difficult. Do Nishkama Karma. That is, you do a prescribed action with detachment. That is better for you, Arjuna. So we are going from Karma Kanda to Karma. We'll explain that in the next class. That is how these verses deal with. 17 to 35, he says, okay, renounce. Are you qualified for renunciation? You still have to do thing. That means is asking a philosopher, can we really renounce? Arjuna might say yes, because he's used to going to the forest and he has lived there, and for them it's no problem. But Krishna is telling him, no, you don't have to renounce. You have to work so as to set an example for the others. So that is what is covered in the next section 3. And then finally, Arjuna had asked him a question saying, how is a lust is a formidable enemy on the path of it, because it is very difficult. And then Krishna gives the signs. So this is how this chapter is organized. So let us go see how Arjuna's confusion is all about. Okay. So now dealing with renunciation or working in Krishna. Arjuna Vacha, Jayasi Chet Karmanaste, Mata Buddhir Janardana, Tat Kim Karmani Gore Mam Niyojas. So what does he say? Why you're engaging me in ghastly warfare? Karmani Gore Mam. So he says, you are telling me Buddhir. So how do we say that? When does he say Karmani Gore Mam, ghastly warfare? Actually in the verse 2.49, Krishna tells Arjuna, Durena here. This keep all abominable activities far distant by Buddhi Yoga. He explains that. So he is thinking that means Buddhi Yoga means I must use my intelligence. So, and for the use my intelligence and keep away from all the abominable activities. That means abominable activities also, fighting in the warfare is also abominable. So he thinks, he told him, no, use your intelligence. So he's thinking, Arjuna, that I should avoid abominable activities and thus not fight, because even warfare is abominable. But when he's saying like that, and why is Krishna is still urging me to fight? So that's a confusion. It's like a contradictory statement. So that is why he's asking Krishna, why you are telling me such contradictory instructions? Tell me correctly what I have to do. So this is the question. So according to Rajan, renunciation, jnana and work are incompatible. Okay. So let us see. Arjuna Vacha. Kyasi chet karmanaste matha buddhir janatana tat kim karmani goremam neojas. O Arjuna, O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want me to engage in this costly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? So, karmani goremam. So if anyone can volunteer to read this, is spirituality and escapism. Anyone can volunteer. I hope somebody is still awake. Hare Krishna. Is spirituality and escapism. Because when you say spirituality, you think it's a escapism. Hey, anyone? Yes, ma'am. Yes, Prabhu. One of you can do it.
Is spirituality and escapism? Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse.
So here he wants to, this is something we also do, no? If, when mistake we make like this mistake, like thinking that spirituality means you have to escape and not do any our duty. So like an escape from duty. Or people who are not able to do their work properly or been failures, then we say, okay, you take up spirituality. It's not like that. And in fact, Prabhuji says that many boys and girls join this movement and they will disconnect themselves from parents, society relations. But this is like an outburst of artificial relationship. Okay, this is not an unhealthy. This is actually an unhealthy understanding. What does he mean then? So, but one thing we understand from Arjuna, there's one good quality. What is it? He places his confusion to Krishna, right? Tell me what is certainly best for me. So this is applicable for any of us. We are devotees, we are in the sadhaka, we are in the beginning stage, we are still in the lot of misgivings are there in us, the most of confusion. So he's asking, actually this is for us only. When we come to crossroads, what to do, right? He's saying, karmani go. Vyamishtam vakena buddhi moharshi tad ekam vada. Tad ekam vada means certainly. Nishchita yena shreya ham apnoya. So what does he say? My intelligence is bewildered by your instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial. See here, tad ekam vada. Just tell me which is to do and for what, which is beneficial. So he's not pinpointing, telling this duty or that duty. You have to tell me that which is beneficial to me. So why? Because we are all of different natures. We have different desires and things. So you need to see which is beneficial to that. What is best or not. Thing. So when we go and ask someone for help, they might be able to give some solution which we may not like, because we will have thinking that this is the problem and this is the solution. So, but some people who had better knowledge and who are away from our situation, they can analyze our situation in an rational manner. So they could give us a solution better because that person is more knowledgeable and is more experienced. So we should keep our false prestige aside and accept that person's advice, isn't it? So same way here, Arjuna is asking what is more beneficial. He's thinking that not fighting was more beneficial. He was trying to escape from not fighting. But Krishna is saying, no, fighting is beneficial to you. So now he's going to clear up this confusion. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness. So either by inertia or active. So he thought renunciation is not to, Krishna consciousness means to be inertia. So in other words, by his questions, he's clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of Bhagavad Gita, right? So this is in the purport. So karma, and here one more thing in chapter 2, Krishna has said, Ma karmani evadikaraste, ma phaleshu kadachana, ma karma phala eturvu mate san. Karmani evadikara, adhikara. So we have a right to perform our prescribed duty. But ma phaleshu kadachana, we are not entitled to the fruits of action. So never consider yourself the cause of results of your actions. Ma karma phala eturvu mate sango asti akarma. And never be attached to not doing a duty. That means you should do your duty. Don't think that you have to do your duty. That is your adhikara, but you are not entitled to fruits of action. Because why we are not entitled? He says we are not the cause of the results. This we saw in the last chapter. So how did we understand? See, I have sown the seed, I've watered it, I've cultivated the land and sowed the seeds, then the tree has grown, now it is bearing fruits. So I am entitled to all the fruits. That's what we think, right? So Krishna says, have you given the sun? Are you the earth? Are you given the water? Because he has given the sun and he has made the soil and he has given things. And also he has given us the seed. And what we did was we just put it, use the water given by the Lord, and by the sunshine, the tree has grown and you have taken care of it, of course, and then you have grown the fruits. So in this, we have our part is very less, whereas most of things is been done by the Lord, by the thing. So that's why he says you are not the cause of the results. There are other factors which comes into play. So he has told that. Now Arjuna wants to know Ekam, telling him, tell me correctly what I have to do. What is the thing? Don't confuse me. Because you told me the soul, so I thought might as well give up and renounce or to fight. And also you're telling me to fight. Okay. So now we come to we'll see what Krishna is telling. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Lokesmi Dvidas Nishta, Pura Prokta Mayanaga, Jnana Yogena Sankyanam, Karma Yogena Yogina. The blessed Lord said, Oh, sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical philosophical speculation, and others are inclined to know him by devotional work. So what does he say there? So, Vidya Nishta. So there are two kinds of people. So now he's talking about how there are two kinds of devotees, which he has explained. One is Jnana Yoga, because there are people when they come into this, they like to study, work, go through the scriptures, and they like to understand the Lord by that. And there are others who are inclined to him by trying to do work, karma yogena yogina. So there are two classes of men with different faith. So Jnana Yogena means if I renounce, cultivate Atma Jnana, then I can please God. That's how the Jnanis think. The karmis are, if I work honestly, sincerely, then I can please the Lord. So he is focusing more on the karma to do, and the other category of people, they focus on the jnana. So Even we have, even as a devotees, we have two classes. So they are more interested in doing seva, no time to read scriptures, no time to sit and study or attend courses. They like to do only seva. There will be so much their time is involved in doing seva. So they are one that category. There are other category who don't like to moving around. They generally like to sit and teach, study or chant. They want to learn and learn. So here Krishna is addressing them as yogis. So both are addressed as yogis because both are having the same goal, that is to reach Krishna. So these two paths are just two different stages in yoga land. So this is how Krishna is introducing this process. How does it work for us and help us to guide others? So now, should we straight away take up to the Jnana Yoga path or to Karma Yoga? Then here the Krishna is telling, when you are not pure in your heart, when you are thinking too much, studying will not help. What happens, you still think by studying, you'll get bored after some time and you may not, because still you are not mature enough. Inside you have a lot of impurity. So start with doing little karma, purify that by karma, by giving the results to the Lord. So yes, we are not ready to taste the rasas from the scriptures. So if you are not mature enough to taste rasas from scriptures, then they'll give it. So this is how, let us see what he says in the purport. It's a very nice purport. We can go to have a look at it. So anybody can volunteer to read this. It's very nice purport here.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji. Praveen Prabhuji.
Purport. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is a subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness, as it is explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter. The Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principle of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action, and furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way,
yes, continue, Prabhuji. I just muted the background news. Prabhuji, go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Right.
In this
Continue.
way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji. We'll just continue there from here afterwards. So here, what does he say? He's telling that Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga, they are both interdependent. They are the same because both the goals are same. Because by trying to understand the scripture, that is, we are understanding what is spirit, what is the body, what is the difference. And think we like to understand more by experimental knowledge and philosophy. So that is the Jnana Yoga people. And Karma Yoga people, they are working in Krishna consciousness. So this has been explained there, right? But what is it is both the goal is the same. We are trying to think. So they are interdependent. Same way here, Prabhupada gives a very nice thing, saying that religion without philosophy is sentiment. Or sometimes fanatic. Now there are people who become so fanatic in the name of the religion. They only think about that, and and philosophy without religion is also mental speculation. So ultimate goal is to go to is Krishna, because the philosophers are merely senses. They are trying to come to the end to Krishna consciousness, even if the people. So the whole process is to understand the real position of the self in the super self. This is what we are trying to understand in Gita. That is what is our position in relation to the super soul. Okay. So either we go by the indirect path, trying to read the scriptures and things, or trying to do the work, trying with the work, we are connecting to this. So of these two paths, the Krishna consciousness path is better because it does not depend on the purification thing by direct method, by devotionals. So this is where the thing is. But what we are trying to understand here is that we need to do the work, and why Krishna is going to explain. Yeah. So he's saying that there are two people. One, you go by this path or that, and yogina. But not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction. Na karmana manarambam naishkarma purushas. Why? Just trying saying that I won't do my prescribed duties, I'll go take up reaction, that won't help us. By not avoiding the work, you are not free from the sinful reactions because you are not yet purified yourself. So just abstaining from the work, we cannot be free from the reactions of a bad karma or a punya. And also, nor by renouncing alone can become perfect. You think that you come away from the material world and you have gone to the forest and you'll become perfect. No, because you have not yet purified yourself. You have still have all that past karmas, your things that has to be purified. So by taking immaturely a renunciation is not good. So nahi kaschit shanam api jatu karma sarva. Everyone is supposed to act according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Now he is explaining why we need to have work. Okay, work is very important. Why? You can just see that in the book. It is very nicely explained here. It's not a question of embodied life, but it's the nature of the soul to be always active. See, this is what it is why we need to have work. Because soul, even if you go to the forest and try to renounce everything, you still have to, your soul is always active, your mind is active, it requires some work. Even your breathing, your thing, everything is a little work. So without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. So even if your body is asleep and your mind is active, you'll have some dreams and all that. And then when that goes to sleep, you might say everything, you have gone into deep sleep, but still your soul will be active. So the soul is always active, and that needs to be engaged in good work for Krishna. Otherwise, what happens if you don't engage in good work of Krishna consciousness? It will be engaged in occupations dictated by the Maya. So this is the thing where crust of the matter comes. Why we need work. So why we need work? This is the reason given here. And what happens if you are caught in the illusory energy? Because because we are in the material world, the soul acquires material modes. And to purify the soul from the affinities, it's necessary to engage in prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. And the soul is, if it is engaged, its natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever is able to do is good for it. So, the dharma of the soul is to work for the Lord, to be in service with the Lord. That is his devotional service. But if you not do that, but if you engage in that Krishna consciousness, then naturally you are engaging the soul, nothing, then it is good for him. And it's also said in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we understand here two things. One is soul is active and needs to be engaged. So work is required for all of us. And why? We have had to purify ourselves. Because we have acquired that thing. Today we have so many reactions from our past karma, from a past life. So we need to think. Therefore, finally he says, therefore, sannyasa of purification is help to reach the ultimate goal of becoming, without which everything is considered failure. So either finally we have to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Only then we can be free. And how do we? So we understand here, everyone is supposed to act helplessly according to the qualities. So we need to work because our soul is active, right? So if you are the occupation dictated by the illusionary energy, otherwise, if you are not properly engaged. So if you have this modes of nature, recommended as thing, prescribed duties, purifies the soul from and leads to thing. So we have to do a duty as per the thing, otherwise we are caught by the Maya. Okay. And then what happens? Bhanu Karmendriyani samyamya ye asti manasa smaran indriyanartha vimudatma mityachara chaichati. Here, what does Krishna says? One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. What happens, you see in this picture is very self-explanatory. The person has is in the garb of a sannyasi, but he is having a cell phone, he has got a cigarette in his hand and his thing. So he's a mithyachara, that is, he's pretending, okay? And he's now, and he has come away from the material world, that's what he says, but his mind is still on the sense objects. So he is called a bhanu. So from here, what we understand is, we need that which if you don't, because there are a lot of people who are like this. Even today, the name of sannyas, they take up, but they are all have their mind is still dwelling on the sense objects. Okay. So we need to be, this is not, Krishna doesn't like such pretenders who are still their mind is on the things. Well, on the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga, that is in Krishna consciousness, without attachment, is by far superior. So here he's giving it's easy to give up things, but not attachment to those things. So it's not that easy to give up the attachment. That we can understand. So what you say is, you engage yourself, engage your senses, indriyani, for the active work. And so that your mind is active and your mind is engaged in some work and you do the work for the Lord. That's what here. Otherwise, what happens is, for those pretenders, what they do, they are karmis in their heart. Okay, they want to do, then engage because of the sense objects. But to the Maya, they are Mayavadis in their behavior. Then they say, no, I'm not this. I've renounced everything. I don't like this. But internally in the mind, they are still like a karmi. They want all the sense enjoyment. And in the public, they'll behave like Vaishnavas. Okay, but actually like a show bottle of spirituality. That's how they are, like that, pretending. So one who restrains senses, but mind dwells on sense objects, is a pretender, right? So that we saw. Pretender is the greatest thing, is shown to be a deep meditation, but mind is dwelling on sense objects. That's what we saw. And he has philosophy, his philosophy has no one. He'll be preaching a lot of philosophy, but he's not practicing it. His mind is still on this. His knowledge is stolen by Maya. But for sense enjoyment, now we have, and we look at the Varnashrama Dharma, there are 4 ashramas, Brahmachari, and then we have Grahastha, then you have Vanaprastha, and then you have Sannyasa. In all the social orders, they all have some regulated life. They follow some rules and regulations. Or in the Brahmachari, he'll be in a Gurukul under the guidance of the Guru, and he'll be focusing only on studying the scriptures and the value systems. And there's so much discipline in there. And then the choice is there whether to take Grihastha ashram or take with the sannyas. When he takes to Grihastha also, there is a married life. So there's a regulation and there's a things which you have followed. And Vanaprastha is when they give up the Grihastha, hand over that to the children, and then take up to Vanaprastha. And then Sanya. So in all that, there are rules and regulations of orders, and they slowly, gradually, their purification, because they'll be doing as per the thing. Even in Vishnu Purana says, the goal of life in all these orders is to satisfy the Yajna Purusha, that is Vishnu. Because we are in this material world, and the object of worship in Varnashrama Dharma is Vishnu. He is the maintaining the world. Okay. So we should do for the satisfaction of Vishnu. That is Yajna Purusha. That is what the goal of this social order, Varnashrama Dharma. And how do you do it? A sincere person, what does he do? He will control his senses, engages in karma without attachment. That is far superior than the Mithyachara. So a sincere person is much better than the pretender who has a check. So that's what even a sweeper is much, that's what the Prabhupada writes in the purport. A sweeper is a sincere householder can this. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living, sense on is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom. So the prime gata, that is our prime goal, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashrama is designed to help us reach this goal of life. Householder can also reach this destination by regulated service. So this is what we have to understand. So it doesn't mean that because we are now in this, we have to leave up this grahastha ashram and take up sannyas. No. It says you can also reach the destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. All we need to do is regulation and control your mind and work, carry out the business without attachment. That way we make the progress. So we said, no, do a duty and do a duty with detachment. That means we are not attaching ourselves to the results. And we saw that we are not the cause of the results. There are so many other players in it. So a sincere person who follows this method is better situated than the false person who at times show bottle rituals to cheat the innocent. So a sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator medicine. So we understand here that it is better to be working rather than be a pretender, take up things done. Because work will purify us and we can purification. Perform a prescribed duty, far doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without. See, we have not, should not become a burden to the society. So the work is required. And why is work is required? And it is because it needs our mind needs engagement and our body also we need to maintain. And we should not become a burden to the society. And so prescribed duties, by performing it, gradually purification of heart takes place. Okay. Whereas renouncing, we fall down since activity is done before purifying the heart. Later, you have to take up the speed, renounce, yes. But in the beginning, we need to do this for purification. And Kshatriya, Arjuna is a Kshatriya as well as Grahastha. So he has to engage himself in war and not renouncing and going to forest. So work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. So this is how he clearly explains and very clear. Is there anything in the chat? So work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and that way you will always remain free from bondage. So here he says, Yajnato karmano yatra, lokayam karma bandhana. So this is what we need to avoid. How do we avoid? By doing for the satisfaction of the Yajna Purusha. Yajna Purusha is a Vishnu. Okay, he is the maintaining of this world. So because he's maintaining this world, we need to think. Here in this chapter, we are focusing on karma yoga. We are not focusing on bhakti yoga. Okay, where in bhakti yoga we say you do for the Lord Krishna, right? But here he's talking about Lord Vishnu, who is maintaining this world, and he's the maintainer, and he's the Yajna Purusha. So Nishkama karma allows our soul to be active, but in a detached way, so as to protect him from bondage. So Nishkama karma yoga. Okay. perform work cycles or else work causes depression. Okay, so how do we do that? We take the guidance of spiritual master and gradually elevate and develop transcendental loving service to the Lord to go back to heaven. So by doing that, purification takes place, and slowly we can elevate ourselves in the progress in the spiritual path. Otherwise, what happens? We get caught in the cycle of birth and death. By saying both good action as well as bad action has reactions. So we are caught in this cycle. So we have to work as a sacrifice to the Lord, or else work causes bondage. Okay. So what we do, we part of the yoga ladder, step by step, how do you go? It's been explained here by Krishna. He says, if you don't do anything, as you live like, you live whims and fantasies. All you do is just like you eat, eating, mating. What's the animal life? Animal means what does the animal do? They're eating, mating, sleeping, and defending themselves. That's all. You don't bother about anything. So you're still, if you one step you go above that is when you accept the scriptures. That means now you want to be like a citizen, proper citizen, accept the laws of the state government. You follow you pay the taxes properly. You go, even the road rules, you follow everything. And you're doing as per the state government. So if you accept the scriptures, what the Lord says, Karma Kanda section of the Vedic scriptures, and you follow that, the prescribed duties given there, and you are doing it. So that's the Karma Kanda, right? Then he says to go beyond that. That is what we talked about, the Sakama Karma. When you start working for the Lord, that means you're not attaching yourself to the desires, to the results. So Nishkama Karma. So this is how Karma Yoga. That means once you start connecting yourself to the Lord, the Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, I think that's when the karma becomes, where you're going from the Karma Kanda stage to the Karma Yoga stage. That's when you understand. Now we are understanding why we need the work and why it is required, and why otherwise how we get God. Still we get the purification. Till we do that, the purifying process, we need the Karma Yoga. We have to go from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. Okay. So this is the thing. Our purification is required. So work through devotion. So I'm going in this slow because this part of it we need to understand clearly.